There is a Hindi expression that the खून का बदला खून, here सिंदूर का बदला खून होगा, that is blood in response to what they've done.
How much was India's military response designed to send a message to China, which supports Pakistan?
What happened on the night of the 9th, 10th speaks for itself, and even more so, the immediate reaction of the Pakistanis the next morning to call off the conflict also speaks very vividly for itself, and maybe that's the message the Chinese will have to look at.
Response designed to send a message to China, which supports Pakistan, about the capabilities of the Indian military.
What was India's?
How much was India's military response designed to send a message to China, which supports Pakistan?
I wouldn't speculate on the intentions. Our response was to hit the enemy that was hitting us, which happened to be Pakistan. The fact that they were using Chinese weapons, and we were bypassing some of the Chinese radar defenses and the famous sort of Chinese networked system, where apparently the Chinese system is that they lock into the other side's aircraft. The radar immediately sends a signal to the plane that sends an immediate launch instruction to the missile. It all comes, and that's supposed to be the great sort of Chinese kill chain we read about in the newspapers. So I don't think that when India decided to bypass some of those threats and hit the airfields it did on the 9th, 10th night, I don't think they were worrying about who gets the message. They wanted to make sure that the Pakistanis got the message and they got the rough end of what we were sending them, which they did. And frankly, I think many of us feel very proud of our defense forces for having done this. I think those whose job it is to study comparative weapon systems, which is not our preoccupation, they can draw conclusions for themselves. But I do believe that what happened on the night of the 9th, 10th speaks for itself, and even more so, the immediate reaction of the Pakistanis the next morning to call off the conflict also speaks very vividly for itself, and maybe that's the message the Chinese will have to look at. But I don't want to speculate about China.
Also, not to forget how the stock market performed.
All right. Why the name Operation Sindoor?
Right.
If you could just briefly address that for those who are not familiar.
Right. Well, Operation Sindoor, actually, I thought was a brilliantly chosen name. The Sindoor, in case some Americans obviously don't know about this, is a vermilion mark that is applied to the center of the forehead of married women in the Hindu tradition. It's widely practiced. Some non-Hindus do it too, but more for decorative purposes. But strictly speaking, the Sindoor is applied at the time of the marriage ceremony and is worn every day thereafter by married women. So we were very conscious that these brutal terrorists, who, by the way, shot men in front of their wives and children, but spared the women. And when the one wife screamed out, "Kill me too," she was told, "No, you go back and tell them what we've done." That was why the women were spared. It was a horrendous act. But that Sindoor had essentially been wiped off the foreheads of 26 Indian women, or 26, I was going to say Hindu women, but one of them actually was a Christian. But the Sindoor had been wiped off the rest by these terrorist actions. And so we wanted, first of all, to avenge that act of wiping off the Sindoor. But secondly, it's no accident that the color of the Sindoor is that bright vermilion red, which is not far from the color of blood. And in many ways, there is a Hindi expression that the खून का बदला खून, here सिंदूर का बदला खून होगा, that is blood in response to what they've done.
India has been firm enough in its response to the constant mediation claimed by the U.S. president. It's a question that your own party continues to ask back home. Just yesterday, the leader of your party, Rahul Gandhi, said Modi surrendered to President Trump.
Sorry, what was the last one there?
That Modi surrendered to President Trump.
Look, all I can say is that we have enormous respect for the American presidency and the American president. All we can say for ourselves is that we have never particularly wanted to ask anyone to mediate. As I said, we have no real difficulty in speaking the same language as the Pakistanis. As long as they use the language of terrorism, we will use the language of force, and that doesn't require a third party. If, on the other hand, they were to dismantle the infrastructure of terrorism, we can talk to them. If they take serious actions to show that they want to restore normal relationships with us, we can certainly talk to them again without needing an intermediary. So it's not in any way a negative comment about the goodwill of people. During this conflict, as I said, in any case, India didn't need persuading to stop. No one needed to tell us stop because we were telling them. The moment Pakistan stops, we are prepared to stop. So if they in turn then told the Pakistanis, you better stop because the Indians are willing to stop, and that was what they did, then that's wonderful gesture on their part vis-a-vis Pakistan, but only Pakistan and they can tell us exactly what happened. With us, all we can say is that we know in our conversations some of these things didn't come up. But I want to say this in a very constructive spirit. We have an enormous respect for the US, and we have a much more important, valuable, strategic partnership with Washington that we wouldn't want to jeopardize over a matter of detail. We are interested, we're talking at the moment about a number of areas of cooperation. We're interested in enhancing all of that. So, small matters,